Yo, people, what is good? Welcome back to my channel. Sorry, let me even put proper mic on. Welcome back to my channel. Second stream in the space of how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4. What, like 3 days? Second stream in the space of like 3, 4 days. Um, as I said, I want to get back to streaming regularly, right? I want to get back to doing 3, 4 streams a week, or not even streams, 3, 4 pieces of content a week. Some videos, video uploads, that is, and some streams. I actually want to get back to doing this properly now that the season has ended. For those who have joined as well from the offset, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. I'm still on the road to 15K. First, I need to get to 14K. So if you can help me get to 14K, I would greatly appreciate it. And again, my socials, I need to put my socials in the video description as well. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter as well for more of my views, for more of my thoughts as well. I like to interact with people who tune into my content. So yeah, hit me up on there. I'm never a stranger. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. So Ange Postecoglou, it seems as if he's closing in on the Spurs job. The Athletic put out an article this morning. I must say, before I even get into the Ange talk, I must say the prop that is being spun for Ange at the moment is through the roof. It's absolutely through the roof. Like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts because I'm like, I didn't see any of this 2 weeks ago. Didn't see any of this 2 weeks ago. When he was just a footnote, just a name, an option. I didn't see any of this prop. I didn't see any articles us saying why Spurs should not go for Nagelsmann, not go for Enrique, not go for all of these managers, not go for Arne Slot. I didn't see any article about Ange, right? I didn't see anything. I didn't see a single thing. And now when he's seemingly the only choice that Spurs want to go with, all of a sudden it's, oh my God, this is the best choice that Spurs are going to make. This is the manager that's going to turn Spurs around, etc., etc. The truth of the matter is nobody knows. We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. The journalists don't know. Nobody knows. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. All we can do is talk about the pros and talk about the cons, right? That's all we can do. Yeah, that's all we can do. But anyway, as I said, people, make sure you smash the like button as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you have your post notifications turned on. Make sure you are following me on socials as well. If you have Instagram, follow me on Instagram. It's Tapping Tobes, one word. If you have Twitter, follow me on Twitter as well. Tapping Tobes, one word. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let me go through some comments as well. So AM with the first comment. You laughed at Hugh. You're not laughing now. I don't think I did laugh. I think I was more angry. I shouted at Hugh. I wasn't laughing. Ange out. A bit harsh. Very harsh. But I can understand where you're coming from. Pepper says, to be fair, as an Arsenal fan, I think Levy will back him. His back is against the wall. Kane is on his way out. He will want to keep Kane, and the only way to do that is to win. We'll see. Talk is cheap. Golden Fawn says, we're finished with this guy as a manager. King Capital says, it's just going to be vibes now. Says going to bring the entire Japanese fan base to the club. Yeah, because I think he's got quite a bit of a reputation in Japan, right? Peter Kip says, am I the only one who wants Postecoglou? Seemingly not. Based off all the stories and reports and some of the prop on Twitter, he's got a bit of a fan base already at the club. So clearly it's not just you. Ange is good, but needed a mid-table Prem club first, to be honest. I hear where you're coming from, but I think there's an argument for that as well. I agree with you, but I think there's an argument for that. There's always an argument to all of these things, right? Let me just go through some more comments. Let me go through some more comments as well. Elite managers can't work at Spurs under Levy. We need a rebuild. Though I would prefer Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann is my number one outright choice. There's no manager on that list that we've had, yeah, that I would have taken over Nagelsmann. Not a single one. I'm not taking Ange over Nagelsmann. I'm not taking I'm not taking Ange over Nagelsmann. I'm not taking Enrique over Nagelsmann. I'm not taking Slot over Nagelsmann. I'm taking nobody over Nagelsmann. But the club apparently don't want Nagelsmann, even though he knocked us back. So it is what it is. It is what it is, honestly. I'm resigned to a lot of things now when it comes to Spurs, and I just have to hope and pray that the powers that be can eventually get it right. It's asking for a lot, I know, definitely asking for a lot, but we just have to hope and pray that the powers can get it right. But first and foremost, let's actually talk about Ange Postecoglou, right? Sorry, I'm just going, just tweeting this now. Yeah, let's actually talk about Ange Postecoglou, right? Let me quickly go through some more comments. Jamie says Hugh spoke it into existence. Praise Irish Jesus. Mohammed Riyad says, I'd rather have Gallardo, but I don't mind Postecoglou. He's a decent manager. Depends on how he deals with the pressure that our stupid fans will put on him. Yeah. I'm just writing some stuff down. For me, I think I don't think you'll have an issue per se with fans. I think what's most important is how well he can get the players on board with his vision. I think once he gets the players on board with his vision, then I think the fans and we see that on the pitch, I think the fans will follow. But I was actually reading something this morning, and it was talking about how he endears himself to the fans. I'll go through it. As I said, the prop for this guy has been crazy. All of a sudden, he's this crazy diamond in the rough that Spurs have been missing out on there for the last couple of years. So, as I said, there's always pros and cons to these things, right? Always pros and cons. Big up Brooks for the comment. He says, watch Celtic a lot and Ange's quality. He was unknown and most Celtic fans hated the appointment, but he surprised them all. Deja vu. Deja vu. Deja vu. I really hope you're right. I really do. Let me just go through some more comments. Let's see. Yeah. You know what? Let's actually start. Let's start, right? So I think what we need to do is, first of all, understand the situation, right? Tottenham had been without a manager since we sacked Antonio Conte back in March, I think back at the end of March, right? Spurs finished 8th in the Premier League. Spurs have ENIC as their owners, who are notorious in terms of their inability to fully buy into a manager's vision, right? So all of these factors put together makes it a job that managers have to carefully consider. Now, whilst I don't believe that this means Spurs should literally go up and pick anybody, it means that the better managers in Europe are going to have considerations, and rightly so. They're going to have considerations when it comes to managing Tottenham. However, there are still pros to managing Spurs. On top of the fact that you're managing in the hub of England, in London, you're still managing a club with supposedly state-of-the-art facilities, the stadium and the training ground, right? If that ever works in terms of enticing people. And most importantly, forget about all the stadium crap. Most importantly, you get paid. Spurs have been paying their managers a lot of money because Spurs have wrongly felt that the way to sort of improve isn't by fixing the squad, but paying big name managers a crazy premium to try and make it work with players that have proven that they're not good enough, or go out of their way to sign and spend money on players that are just bad fits for the club. So we're in a sort of a halfway house here as a club, because I agree with a lot of the stuff that the guys in the Big Six say in terms of big name managers. I don't think Spurs can go out and get big name managers. I don't. And to be honest, I don't really want any more big name managers. Like, I do want a project manager. I do want someone who's going to be in the thick of it, right? So whilst that is the case, it doesn't necessarily mean that Spurs should literally give the job to anybody, right? And I'm not trying to say that Ange Postecoglou is just some random guy that Spurs have picked up the street. Absolutely not. He's a 57-year-old man. He's been managing in football for years, right? He's managed in Australia, managed in Japan, and now he's managed in Scotland. So he does have lots of years of experience under his belt. But fundamentally, every single aspect of his experience has been in significantly low leagues, lowly ranked leagues, right? It's been across significantly low ranked leagues, which is the problem. Nothing to do with Ange as a person, right? It's just the fact that his footballing experience as a manager, the experience that has garnered his reputation, and I get it, everyone has to start somewhere, right? But the golfing class between the Prem and the Scottish League, it should not be understated. Now, on Ange Postecoglou, I'm not even sat here saying that he can't do well or he won't do well. I'm just giving my reservations on how it's gone for managers in the past. Granted, Ange probably offers something different to these managers, right? In his style of play, in his way with the players, etc., etc. But we cannot skirt around the fact that the SPL, in my opinion, is not a good enough indication of your quality as a manager, as a player. So whilst Ange has done a good job in Scotland, has done a fantastic job in Scotland, there are still reservations. And I don't think it's wrong to have those reservations. I don't think it's wrong to have those reservations at all. So let's actually talk about the man himself. Let's talk about the man himself. Yeah. Let's talk about the man himself, because I don't want this to just be all about Ange Postecoglou. Fundamentally, whether it's Ange Postecoglou, whether it's Nagelsmann, whether it's Enrique, whoever it is, ultimately the buck falls firmly on the ownership's shoulders. Because no matter which manager Spurs bring in, we have to fix this team. We have to fix our structure behind the scenes. We still don't have a director of football. And it's Levy and Enoch that are driving the search and have come to the conclusion that Postecoglou is their man. So if it doesn't work out, yes, Postecoglou will be the one that will get the sack. But the responsibility should also fall firmly on their shoulders, because they have identified this guy. They apparently buy into his vision. Now prove it. Now prove it. Yeah. So anyway, when I go back to the SPL stuff as well, right? I'm talking about managers in recent times. I mentioned it on the Big Six yesterday. I think the last manager to have managed in that league and come to the Premier League, or make their name in that league and then come to the Premier League and do well, is Martin O'Neill. He was a really good manager. Right? But then I can talk about Neil Lennon, who battered up the Scottish League and came here with Bolton, sucked ass. Steven Gerrard battered it up with Rangers, did well in the Europa League, came to the Premier League, sucked ass, right? It feels like the people who do well are an exception to the rule and not the rule itself. And whilst I'm not saying that Ange will 100% end up, and I hope he doesn't, to be honest, because he's going to be our manager. I don't want him to fail. Whilst I'm not trying to say that that's definitely his fate, I am trying to highlight that it's a big jump. It's a big jump in quality. It really is. It really is. And then when you look at the dynamics of Rangers and Celtic and the dominance in that league, it makes sense. On top of the fact that that's a league that has nowhere near the funding that the Premier League has, which means that the average Scottish team is nowhere near as strong as the average Premier League team, right? Because Spurs are not exactly a good Premier League team at the moment. Yeah. On top of the fact that the average funding is low, the top two dominate. The top two dominate, and nobody can skirt around that. The top two dominate. So when I make the point around the SPL versus the Premier League, it's based off facts. It's not my opinion. It's based off factual info. Rangers and Celtic dominate that league because they have more resources than the rest of the teams in that league. And the rest of the teams in that league don't have the funding to compete with Rangers. And even Rangers and Celtic, the funding that they have, it doesn't even pale into comparison with even probably the 9th best team in the Premier League in terms of the money that they receive. I'll tell you this for free. Every single promoted side will spend more than Rangers and Celtic this summer. Simply because there's no funding, there's no money. And when there's no money, the quality of player that you bring into your league is low, which then means the quality of competition in your league is lowered. So then by default, the barometer and quality versus the Premier League is already skewed. It's skewed because I can't compare apples and apples and oranges because there's always going to be one side significantly stronger than the other. So that is my biggest worry, right? Nothing to do with Ange's personality, nothing to do with his managerial principles, simply the gulf in class. It's difficult. It's not impossible, but it is damn sure difficult. It's difficult. So I just wanted to stress that point, and that's why for me, I was and I am against disappointment. I don't hate Ange. I don't hate Ange. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think he's a bad manager. I would happily, and I'll get onto this when because I don't want it to sound negative, right? We're going to talk about pros and cons. It's just purely because I don't rate the SPL. I really don't. You have to do well to find a gem in the SPL. And Spurs might have found that gem with Ange. We don't know. We don't know. I'm not shutting it down. I just would prefer that Spurs don't take that risk with the position we're in now. But anyway, let's actually talk on the man himself, right? Let's talk on the man himself. Ange Postecoglou. So he's managed in Australia, Japan, and Celtic. I'm not going to pretend like I've done a full dossier of his whole career. So I'm going to go with what I've watched this week and what I've read. Yeah. Pros. I've given you the cons. Let's talk about the pros, right? Let's talk about the pros. I think this guy plays football the way we want to see Tottenham play football. And that's a good thing. From a footballing perspective, he plays football the way we want to see Spurs play football. Yeah. I'm gonna put the disparity in quality to one side for now, because I'll mention that when we talk about some of the cons. Yeah. But let's talk about how he sets his teams up. A lot of fans don't like the fact that Spurs set up with a back three. I don't really mind it, provided we're using the right profile players in the position, which we don't have. But he plays a 4-3-3, right? He plays an aggressively high press. When you look at visuals and videos on his tactics, etc., he squeezes teams. You'll see centre backs in the opposition half, ready for the counter press to contain the opposition. right? He builds up in a 2-3-5. Do you get what I'm saying? Builds up in a 2-3-5. The two centre backs, the two fullbacks then invert and sit as the next line of defense with the holding midfield, and then he attacks with two number eights and the three up top. So you have the striker, the left winger, and the right winger. My preferred shape is a 4-3-3. That sounds good. That sounds good. I can't lie. That sounds good. When you look at the possession stats as well, I think he's averaging like close to 70% possession per game, right? When you look at the metrics in terms of goals scored, I think obviously Celtic finished second the season before he came. Then the season after he came, they win the league. Big improvement on goal difference, big improvement on possession, etc., right? And then I think from a charismatic perspective as well, I think he's endeared himself to Celtic fans, because Celtic fans are like me. Celtic fans are like me, and Celtic fans were thinking that. And they're in Scotland. Obviously, Celtic are a huge club, ginormous club, but I'm talking about the level of competition that they face. Celtic fans, from what I've read, did not want him. Or better yet, they were concerned when he got the job because of the lack of experience he had in European competition. Right? Let me bring up this article that The Athletic wrote, which is ridiculous. Honestly, the the prop for this guy is mental, man. It's absolutely mental. It's proper mental. Where were these articles a couple of weeks ago? Honestly, where were these articles a couple of weeks ago? It's crazy. They are gassing this guy, bro. They're gassing this guy. Maybe he's got something, man. And listen, I don't want him. I'll be real. I don't want Spurs to go with Ange Postecoglou, but if he's to get the job, I'll get behind him. I'll get behind him, and I'll just have to hope that he can replicate the good parts of his managerial his managerial tenure at Celtic, man. So yeah, I've been reading this article on The Athletic this morning, and apparently it shouldn't be a surprise. Well, it is a surprise because you weren't talking up the things for Ange Postecoglou a month ago. It's literally a surprise. So I was reading and reading, and this was the bit that got me, right? Obviously, where is it? I'm trying to find what he said. Where is it? I was literally reading a quote. Yeah, here it is. So here's what he said. So he said, "I'm not just a manager," so I'll highlight it so you can see it, right? "I'm not just a manager of a football club. I'm a manager of everything that the football club embodies. It was important for me that the people who are truly invested in this club and that's the supporters, believed in me as a person more than anything else. When people believe in you as a person, you're more likely to get an understanding of what you're trying to achieve." Right? He speaks well. I can't really fault him in terms of his attitude, and the seriousness in which he takes his job. I can't fault any of that. Like, the original quote itself was here. So he actually said, "I said to the players that we had 60,000 in tonight, and I'm sure a lot of them walked in with some problems in their life. For this 95 minutes, we made them forget that and feel good, and that's something special." Now, I'm not one of these Spurs fans who's satisfied with only just sexy football. Only give me sexy football, I'll be satisfied. I actually want to see Spurs win things. I want to see us play good football, progress, and actually win stuff. It's not just good football for me, right? But using that point of view, this is a man who clearly cares about the fans that he's serving, the fan base that he's working with, right? I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think that no matter who the manager is for Spurs, the next manager has to take on board the consideration of the fans. Like what can we do to make the fans proud of us? How can I make this team so good that it brings everyone on board? Do you get what I'm saying? Right? I can't be mad at that. I read stuff like that and I look at him positively. Genuinely, I do. I do. Right? And then when you add in the fact that he plays the way that the top sides in Europe are playing, in the shape that they use, in the press that they incorporate, the use of inverted fullbacks, penning teams in, maintaining a high level of possession, like his footballing principles are good, man. The problem, I say the question is whether he can translate those same principles to the Premier League with Spurs. And I don't think that's going to be all down to him. He's going to play a big part in it, of course, but I don't think it will be all down to him, right? But as good as all of this sounds, as good as his football has been at Celtic, obviously they scored lots of goals. They've retained the title back-to-back years. They're on course to win a treble this season. They got the Scottish Cup final this weekend, which I will definitely be watching. There are good things about Ange Postecoglou. Like, he plays football the way that we want to see football played, right? And he respects the fan bases at his club the way we want our manager to, right? You see, he actually has some pride. He has pride when he speaks about his club. This is what we want from our next manager. Well, this is what I want. I don't know about anyone else. This is what I want. I want someone who can get us the results on the pitch and off the pitch, is proud to actually represent the club. But as I said, the obvious con with all his performances, metrics, etc., right? It's the SPL. It's the SPL. That's the only thing I can't shake out of my head. It's the SPL. When I read all these articles about how he sets up the teams he's faced, the players he's brought in, etc., right? The one common denominator that gets mentioned in all of these pieces are teams can't match up to Celtic because they just don't have good enough players. That's not going to be the case in the Premier League. That's not going to be the case in the Premier League. He could do well. But I'm only saying this just to highlight the concerns. In the SPL, you're not going to find teams who can put in a good enough coordinated press to beat Celtic, right? Because simply put, their managers aren't as good as Ange, and the playing staff that they have aren't as good as Celtic. It's that simple, right? Not to take the piss, but Cameron Carter-Vickers has become a linchpin for Celtic. This guy could not cut the mustard at Spurs, could not cut the mustard at Bournemouth, and yet he's a linchpin in the SPL. Like, that is cause for worry, because that shows you the level in the SPL in comparison to the Premier League. It's a valid concern. Absolutely, it's a valid concern, right? But broadly, Ange's footballing principles and coaching, they're good. Like, if his name wasn't Ange Postecoglou and he wasn't managing Celtic, and you said that you've got a manager who's good at integrating a lot of players into his team, playing an ultra progressive way of playing, playing a 4-3-3, high scoring teams, low conceding teams, etc., you'd be comfortable. You'd be comfortable, right? I would be comfortable. Do you get what I'm saying? So the SPL, as you see, the SPL, it's the recurring theme. For everything good I say about Ange, the SPL is the recurring theme because it keeps coming up and I can't shake it away. Genuinely, I can't. This question here, Gallardo or Ange? I'd have neither if it was my way. I'd go for Nagelsmann, right? But if you're asking me between the two, I'd probably go for Ange because Ange can speak English. I know he can speak English, right? I know he can speak English, and the SPL is ranked higher than the Argentinian league. Simple. I don't know much on Gallardo. I don't know anything on Gallardo, so I can't speak with confidence on Gallardo. I can't even speak with confidence on Ange. I can only speak with confidence on SPL because my confidence stems from the factual information that I can give on the SPL. Do you get what I'm saying? Let me even go through some super chats as well. So Aaron says, Tobes, I'm not trying to banter, but are you fearing the fact that you may not finish in the top 6 in the next years? I only see Spurs going backwards right now. I don't mind going backwards right now, provided we have a plan to get ourselves back to where we were and even higher and try and win a trophy. I never expected Spurs to finish in the top 6. Once this season was over, I said to myself, Spurs will do well. We do well to finish in the top 6 next season because it's going to be ultra competitive. Pochettino's gone to Chelsea, so you expect them to be stronger. Liverpool, you expect they'll come back harder this season. Newcastle are now a player, right? Aston Villa, who knows what they'll do with Unai Emery next year when they're juggling European football, right? The competition is going to be tough. Arsenal asserted themselves as title contenders this season. You don't imagine that there's going to be a huge drop off based off their trajectory next season. Man United finishing in the top 4 this season. You expect that they'll continue to improve. So I wasn't expecting Spurs to finish in the top 6 anyway. However, it's not about Spurs. It's not about Spurs finishing in the top 6 now as immediate success. It's more around picking a manager who can at least give us building blocks. Give us building blocks to believe that, okay, fine, even if we don't finish in the top 6 next year, this is a season that we can actually take a lot of positives from and we can build on this season in the following year, right? That's what I'm looking for from the next manager. If we get top, to be honest, we should actually be going for top 6. Like, change my mentality to top 4. Top 4 is the one that's out of the question, right? Spurs should be targeting top 6. However, I don't think we will finish in the top 6. But if we see signs of progression, I'll take that. Genuinely, I will take that. But thank you for the super chat, bro. So big up Crocodokes. He says, we'll know if Ange lasts more than 10 games by the end of the transfer window. I heard he rebuilt Celtic and found out they were second when he came with 77 points. Can't be a good barometer for PL form. Yeah, I don't think it is a good barometer, but it speaks to how quickly he's probably able to implement his own style at a specific club. Problem is that club is Celtic, which is the most successful team in Scotland with lots and lots of heritage. Yeah, so thank you for the super chat anyway, though, bro. Next super chat from Mark, not Mark. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, regardless of who our manager is, our board will always do them dirty, Tobes. Who is your preference of the available managers? Disregard Nagelsmann. Yeah, I agree. And I think that should be the overarching theme, because I said right at the start, irrespective of the doubts on the Scottish League and Postecoglou's ability to translate his quality from the Scottish League to the Prem, the buck should stop with Enoch. No matter which manager comes in, the squad needs major upheaval. Yeah. Spurs still don't have a director of football. I still think it's mad that Spurs are getting a manager without even bringing in a director of football first. But hey ho, if he does come in, Spurs need to find a director of football that is aligned to the vision that they see with Ange. And then Spurs need to go and give that director of football and Ange, in coordination with Ange, empowerment. Like, they need to empower these guys to go out and speak to and acquire the players that they need to make Spurs better. I've spoken a million times. Non-negotiables this summer: goalkeeper, 2 centre-backs, midfielders. depending on what we do with some of the midfielders that are coming back on loan, it will alter how many midfielders we need. But those are the non-negotiables, and that doesn't even scratch the Kane conversation. That doesn't even scratch the Kane conversation, right? Ange will have his own remit as a manager. Like, there are simple indicators that will make or break Ange if he is to get the Spurs job at Spurs, right? How well does the team play game to game? How many points can the team accumulate? How well does the team defend, right? How well can you get the fans on side? Spurs, and how well can you perform in some of the cup competitions? Basically, how well can you get close to European qualification? I think that's what's going to be the main aim for Ange, because that's the money driver. That's the money driver, right? But it's down to Enoch. It's down to Enoch. It's down to them. Like, I'm fed up with this ownership, right? I'm so fed up with these guys. If you want this guy, and if this is your guy, you have to back him. And that was actually gonna take me to my next point as well. So when I was watching the video up on Ange in his first year, he was allowed to sign 14 new players. He completely changed the look of Celtic in one season. Why? Because he was given authority to actually bring in the players that he needed, right? Some of them were like shrewd acquisitions. I heard that he's got a lot of good connections in the Japanese market, so he was able to bring in some of these players that have gone on to be really successful for Celtic, right? But fundamentally, he was allowed to bring in 14 players. And he was allowed, well, I say he was allowed because I think Celtic were planning on losing some players anyway, but he was allowed to oversee a major upheaval of the team that he inherited. Is that going to be the case at Spurs? Because it's all good and well saying you want this guy to come to Spurs and help Spurs incorporate a high press. That could potentially be done with coaching, but you need new players. Help Spurs play a much higher line. Again, coaching helps, but you need new players. Help Spurs retain more possession. Again, coaching helps, but you need new players. Help Spurs score more goals. Coaching helps, but again, you might need new players. Help Spurs play out from the back better. Again, coaching helps, but you need new players. You can't get around it. The guy signed 14 new players. And yes, whilst the amount that those players cost pales into comparison, is nowhere near as big as signing 14 players for a Premier League club based on how they would spend. They gave him 14 new players. They gave him 14 new players to help bring his vision to life. So my ask is simple. If you are going to bring Ange Postecoglou into the club, you better do everything in your power to make sure he's a success. Right? I've already said, if it was my way, I'm going for Nagelsmann. I wouldn't go for Ange. But if Ange comes in, I'll get behind Ange. Just give me something to get behind. I want him to show me that there's something to believe in at Spurs. And I hope he can. But fundamentally, I want the club and the owner and the man, Levy, who's bringing in Ange, right, to give him the players that he needs. Don't tell him to come to the club and try and incorporate his main way of playing with Dyer, with Sanchez, with Højbjerg. Do you get what I'm saying? With a finished Hugo Lloris, right? Honestly, I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to hear any of that. Because we now have got to the stage, and granted, Conte deserved to be sacked because in his own individual performance as a manager, he was not good enough. The football was turgid. The results had taken a nosedive. The cup competitions were embarrassing, to say the least. But fundamentally, Enoch did not 100% buy into Conte's vision. They may have backed him in the window enough for him to have done better than he did, but they did not 100% buy into his vision. He wanted centre-backs to allow Spurs to be better at playing out from the back. He didn't get that. Jose Mourinho wanted Ruben Diaz. He didn't get that. Pochettino wanted a rebuild. He didn't get that. When are we going to finally get Enoch aligned to the manager in terms of what they need? If your man is Ange Postecoglou, you have to back him to the heavens. If he says that's his first choice target, get his first choice target. Get his first choice target. Enough with the lip service. Enough with the whole, oh, we want to make this a club that you can be proud of again. Oh, we want to get back to our DNA, get back to our culture. Okay, cool. If you think Ange is the man to change that culture, we'll take that on the chin. We'll take that on the chin. I'll take it on the chin. But you have to back him. You've got to back him. It's that simple. So if we're saying that he needed 14 players to completely change the look of Celtic in his first season, Spurs need minimum 6 players, 5-6 players to change the look of Spurs immediately in the first year, right? And that's a significant uptick in performances in comparison to this season, right? I think there are some things that he could that I think we can judge Ange on to try and use as an indicator of how good he is as a manager. How organized can you get Spurs in terms of their press, which is non-existent? Can you help us rediscover Richarlison's form, Son's form, Kulusevski's form? Can you help our midfield be more expressive in the way they want to move and progress the ball? Yeah. Can you help our centre-backs and our entire team, right, put more pressure on the opposition? Can you help us play further up the pitch? I think these are small marginal gains that he can make, right? But like I said earlier on in the video, he's going to need help. And it's not just him. It would be the same thing for Nagelsmann. It would be the same thing for Enrique. It would be the same thing for Onslaught. Whoever the manager is, the Zerbi, whoever the manager is, they need help. And when I say help, I mean they need new players and they need a footballing infrastructure behind them that can allow them to continuously bring in players that fit their way of playing, right? When you look at Brighton, who apparently wanted Ange Postecoglou, the managers that they went for were of a similar style to Graham Potter in terms of the progressive football, keeping the ball, etc., etc. When you look at Brighton's players, they bring in players who are comfortable with the ball at their feet. They signed Billy Gilmour on loan. Oh, no, they signed him on a permanent contract. And he only came into the team towards the back end of the season. But what was Billy Gilmour's USP? He's a holding midfielder who is comfortable with the ball at his feet under pressure. They brought in Levy Colwell on loan. Comfortable centre-back under pressure, right? Whilst they don't spend as much money as Tottenham, Brighton, they know the profile player they want because it's engraved into their culture. I hate using these words like culture and identity. It's engraved, which is why when you look at the way Brighton play, even though man for man, you may not say, oh, wow, like this player excites me. It works for them. They work in their system because they are bought to play in their system. Spurs have an advantage over Brighton because they have more money to spend. So in theory, the job is easier if you have the right personnel behind the scenes making the judgment calls. Right? Levi, apologies. Levi Colwell. You lot knew what I meant. Levi Colwell. You know what I mean? Right? So it's that simple. And I think I'm past the point of putting it all on the manager. Like, the manager will get their stick. And if Ange Postecoglou comes in and he's not doing a good enough job in his remit as a manager, I'll say it. But any manager who manages Spurs are working against the current that is ENIC. They're working against a current, a strong current, a current when it comes to getting your first choice targets, putting the real money down for the players that you want, bringing in players that suit you and not just suit what the ownership want. Right? So let's see. Let's see. I want my strapline to be this. Yeah. My doubts are not going away about the SPL. And I'm hoping that if Ange gets the job, he alleviates my doubts the same way he did for Celtic fans. The same way he did for Celtic fans when he was going from Japan to Scotland. I want him to hopefully help me do the same coming from Scotland to England if he gets the job, right? But for me, the attitude of ENIC will be just as big of a factor in Ange's performance, if not more. The attitude of ENIC in response to the upheaval of our squad, the refreshing of our squad, the rebuilding of the footballing operations behind the scenes, director of football, scouting operation, etc., right? All of those things will be just as important, in fact, more important than Ange Postecoglou's actual day-to-day work. That's going to be more important, because that is what is going to actually set Spurs up for the next couple of years, right? Whether it's Postecoglou, Nagelsmann, etc. If that part is working well, then in theory, as good as Ange Postecoglou could potentially be at Spurs, if for whatever reason he doesn't get the job, right, you have the right people in place to get a manager who can tick some of the boxes he can tick. If he was to get the job and was to leave in 3-4 years' time to a better job, for instance, you have the right infrastructure in place to go out and get a manager that can tick the boxes that he was ticking. Listen, it's going to be it's a summer of change, and I'm more than happy to embrace change, right? But me personally, I'm also risk averse, and if I can see that something has had a history of failing more than succeeding, I would like to move away from it. And what I mean by that is with the SPL. But there are things that are likable with Ange Postecoglou. So let's see what happens. Honestly, let's see what happens. So as I said, my strapline is this. My doubts are still there, but I'll get behind Ange if he gets the job. Genuinely, I actually will. I won't hound him out like I hounded out Jose Mourinho, simply because, you know what, Jose Mourinho, I just thought he was a horrible fit for the job. I even gave Nuno time. I didn't want Nuno in the job, but I even gave him time. Like, I'll give managers the time of day. Do you get what I'm saying? If he is appointed as a Spurs boss, there's nothing more we can do as fans. There's nothing we can do. The decision will have been made. The best we can do is try and support the guy and see what he can do. Let him actually give us a reason to criticize him once he's in the job. Yeah? Let him give us a reason. I'm not just going to criticize him just for the sake of it. So let's see. I'm going to go through some comments now. That Hot Spurs guy says, let's be honest, Tobes. We all know it's going to be Rodgers. I'd like Nagelsmann. I don't want Rodgers. I can't lie to you. I think Rodgers, he's a good mid-level manager, right? But I feel like I've seen his cap. I've seen the limit for Brendan Rodgers, and I don't think he's someone who will take Spurs up levels. Postecoglou is still someone who's building his reputation. Do you get what I'm saying? And whilst Brendan Rodgers has done more in football than Ange Postecoglou in the tougher leagues, right? I've already seen what he's about in the Premier League, and I'd like to try someone different. Let's see. DeLong says, doesn't matter who your manager is when you're playing Diane Davies. Big facts, which is why the attitude to refreshing this team and the ownership are more important than Ange. They're more important than any manager that we bring in. Big facts. Foggy Foam says he recommended Brighton to Simon Matoma. Is this true? Or is this more prop? I feel like that's more prop, but if you can get me the link behind it, then it's true. And that if you can get me the link behind that, then yeah, I'll take your word for it. Okay. With Poch, signs of progression. Jose, signs of progression. Conte, signs of progression. Yet we are here again. Boy, I guess that tells you what the real problem is at Spurs. Clarence says your constant negativity is draining. Get behind Levy and let him cook. What the fuck is he cooking? Sorry to swear. What the fuck is he cooking? Pot noodles, expensive pot noodles. Get out of here, man. How about get behind Levy? Fuck him. He needs to get behind the club and do the right thing, bro. That's what he needs to do. Okay. Mohammed Riyad says Spurs fans need to understand that we are a mid-table club. We aren't a top 6 club anymore, and we'll be mid. Listen, on this as well, Spurs fans aren't stupid, right? We're not stupid. I think some fans maybe expect more than others. Some fans expect less than others, but okay, maybe not all Spurs fans are stupid. I must admit, I have spoken to some stupid Spurs fans, but generally, I think the average Spurs fan that I speak to, they're sensible. They're sensible. With Spurs out of Europe this season, right? I think the majority want to see the same thing. They want to see the squad cold. They want to see all the players that have let Spurs down over the years to be phased out. Now, that may not be done in one window, but we want to see the plan to initiate that. Get rid of around 8 or 9 this window, then get rid of some more the next window. Start moving them on and start bringing some faces at the club. Start bringing some faces into the club that are actually good enough to play for Tottenham. Right? Fix the first 11. Get a progressive style, make a better fist of the cup competitions, and you build from there. Right? Nobody wants or expects, nobody expects success overnight. But the current mode of operation has not worked. It's not working. The ownership, it's not working. We want to see something different. So I don't think you're wrong in saying Spurs right now are mid-table club. Yeah, well, technically we're 8th, so I guess that's the top end of mid-table. So yeah, but factually you're right. But it's not wrong to want Spurs to do better, and it's not wrong to believe that Spurs are capable of better, right? We just need to see that attitude in place when we're going for players, when we're trying to pick a director of football, etc., etc. Tobes, it's Spurs. We ain't getting Postecoglou. This is onslaught. MK2, mate. If he rejects us, then boy, we are really mudded. Wow. Hope Gaming says, I'm not backing Ange or whatever his name is. Listen, you're free to do whatever you want, bro. I can understand your reasoning. But I mean, he's not really done anything yet to warrant abuse or criticism at Spurs, because he's not actually our manager yet. If he gets in the door and he messes up, then fair enough, I can understand it. But yeah, you do you, bro. You do you. As a Nausea that knows Ange well, he will probably be a good fit for you guys, like the Zerbi mixed with Daesh. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Jonas. He says, big up Tobes. Who would be your first 2 signings in and the first 2 current players out? Love your content. See you in NY. Levy and Enoch out. Big facts every day of the week on the last line. Who would be my two Two signings in, a goalkeeper and a centre back. I don't know which centre back I want. Ndicka is available on a free transfer. I don't know why Spurs aren't trying to move for Ndicka. I would love Gvardiol, but there's no chance he's coming to Tottenham with no European football. And even if we had European football, he's going to have much better offers. Need a goalkeeper. I like Raya. I like the look of Raya. I think he's a sensible signing for Spurs. I think he's 6'2", safe with the ball at his feet, and good enough shot stopper. Good enough to actually help Spurs play a more progressive brand of football. So I would like to see Raya come in. I'd like to see Raya come in. Raya or a centre back. First two players out. I'd like to see Sanchez gone, and I'd like to see Eric Dyer gone as well. I'm done with both. But thank you for the super chat, bro. No, I think he is. I think he's at 6'1", 6'2". I don't think he's he's mad short. I think goalkeepers generally you want them taller, but I think he's done well enough at Brentford. Hope, big facts. Bella Kotchap. That's someone I would look at to cover for Romero in the right. Because there's Bella Kotchap. Because actually, no, to be fair, he plays left centre back, doesn't he? That's someone I would look at as well to come in and provide competition, right? He might not be starting week in, week out, but he's a good rotation option, right? I like Bella Kotchap. I like the look of him. I think he's good. And I feel like he would be a good pickup as well from Southampton. I really do. Listen, people, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Keep your post notifications turned on. I keep telling myself that I need to do this Ndombele video. I'm going to do it probably this evening or tomorrow. And I'll put that out on my channel. So you let me know what you think with Tongi, man, and potentially whether you think he has a future. There's other centre-backs as well. Tapsoba from Leverkusen. I think he's good. Midfielders that I feel we need to sign. I think I would love James Maddison at the club. I think that would be a fantastic signing for Spurs. I don't know who I'd want in the 8 as well to play alongside Bissouma. I'm not too sure. But yeah, there are good midfielders out there. There are a lot of good midfielders out there. There are a lot of good players out there. Yeah. There are a lot of good players out there. Okay. Thoughts on Ndombele wanting to fight for his place? Is that what he's actually come out and said? If so, I rate the mentality, man. We'll talk on Ndombele. Mohammed says, of course, I want Spurs to finish as high as possible. I'm being realistic. I don't see us finishing in the top 8 next season or the season after. We'll see. It depends. I can understand it. So I don't see Spurs finishing in the top 4 next season. And I probably don't see Spurs finishing in the top 6 next season. However, I think top 6 should be the aim. Obviously, the club are going to say the aim is top 4 to try and get into top 4. But really and truly, top 6 is the aim when you finish 8th, in my opinion. I think you need to get back into the top 6, then look at getting into the top 4. If you can do both in one season, great. But yeah, no, I do hear your point, and it has the potential to get worse. Like we've spoken about the potential good that could come from this deal, but it could be bad. Ange could come and he could be a total flop, like some of the rest of the Scottish managers to come to this league from the SPL. Right? Or sorry, some of the managers who have made their name in Scotland and come to the league. It could be a flop. You don't know. We don't know. I think, as I said, ENIC hold the keys for success and failure this summer, genuinely, in their attitude to the squad, in who they put in place as the director of football, in how they handle the Kane situation. They hold the keys. Not Ange. They hold the keys. Why would they back him when they gave up on Poch, Jose, and Conte so easily? Once Europe is in danger, why would they not sack their 5th choice manager? You know the draw. Yeah, I know the draw, but I'm saying that they need to move different or sell up. Ideally, they need to sell up, but they need to move different because their mode of operation, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Half-hearted attempts to actually give the manager what they really need. It's not going to work. So don't look at it, for me, I don't look at it as, backing Ange because they believe in Ange more than Poch, Jose Conte. I'm looking at it as backing Ange because it's the right thing to do. And you want to set up any manager that's managing your club as best as possible so that they can actually be a success. That's the way I see it. Genuinely, that's the way I see it. But I think there's no hiding place for Enoch, and I think if they bring in someone like Ange, who doesn't have the experience that ideally we would want in any of the top European leagues, then you have to supplement that with some players. You have to give him the best support possible. Big up Nicholas Humphreys. As an Australian Arsenal fan, this feels weird. I can see your style of football improving, to be honest, but I don't think Ange will compete for top 6. Well, he's going to have to. Listen, if Ange gets brought in and Spurs finish 8th next season, context is everything, but more often than not, if he finishes 8th next year, he's probably going to get sacked. I'll be real. But if he finishes 8th next year and there's minimal gap between 8th spot and 5th spot or fourth spot, and Spurs go far in the cup competition, get to a final, etc., and we're playing much better football throughout the season, and we're getting a much better return out of our younger players, and the strikers, the forwards are firing, the midfielders are playing better, the defenders are defending better, then there's grounds to keep him, right? Because there are building blocks. I don't know, man. Listen, Hugh did his best motivational speech for Ange yesterday, and some of it actually got to me, but I'm still remaining level-headed with this, right? I still know of the difficulty that faces Ange in this job if he's to get it. So, yeah, I'm not banking on Ange being a success. It's more of a hope. Me personally, with Enoch fixing their act together, I would bank on someone like Nagelsmann potentially being a success, as opposed to Ange, where it's more of a hope. But let's see what happens. Like I said, I think it's less on Ange and more on Enoch. And that will be the case with any manager that we bring in. It's less on Ange and more on Enoch. I'll be watching the Scottish Cup final tomorrow for sure. But yeah, people, I'm going to end the stream now. Let me know your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou. Let me know your thoughts on the SPL. Let me know your thoughts on what he needs at Spurs, on Enoch, etc., people, I didn't even mention his Champions League record because I didn't want it to feel like I was going too in on Ange. I didn't want it to feel like I'm the bearer of bad news. But yeah, I mean, I don't need to speak on his Champions League record. It was pretty abysmal. But then again, when you're managing Celtic and you have such a contrast in resources versus the teams that you're playing, it's a problem. But I feel like that might be a similar issue that Ange is likely to run into when he's managing Spurs and he's playing up against sides like Chelsea, Man City, etc. But anyway, people, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Keep your post notifications turned on. I'm telling you, there's going to be a video dropping on Ndombele real soon. Now that the season is over, I'm going to try and move into a regular schedule of recording. Let me know what days you guys would like to see videos. I'm going to put a poll out. So I'm going to pick two days per week where I do live streams, right? And that'll be outside of any sort of ad hoc streams as a result of breaking news. But there's going to be 2 days a week where I just do like daily live streams. So you lot let me know which slots you prefer. But until then, take care, peace out, and Enoch out.